Thank you so much. We're so excited for this first match. We'll be covering the first 3 Gladiators. We were talking about how they feel like the Avengers of Overwatch. They took all the best pieces of the other rosters, you know, Dante from Houston, Yaki from New York Excelsior, etc., and have formed this super team. Although people had a lot to say in the Scrimbucks exchange, which Dante settled those rumors.
Yeah, Dante said, you know what, Scrim's practice is just practice, baby. In the end, it's for results in the lobby that count, and the results did come through yesterday. Even if it was a touch shaky, we did see a couple of times where old Captain Kevster had to bail out the Avengers team with a well-placed shield throw here and there. And we're going to be heading over to Nepal, which is where we saw a couple of struggles previously from LA Gladiators. This has been picked by Team Peps, and I think that this leans quite nicely into Krandop's one of Krandop's best picks, which is the Reinhardt. Krandop's a fantastic Reinhardt player, and obviously over on Shrine and Village, Reinhardt is going to be one of the choices du jour for many teams.
And Team Peps, I feel like this should be your team bias right now. A lot of former London Spitfire players, a former Paris Eternal, now known as Vegas Eternal. And Zerion's like kind of the odd duck out of just being a contenders player, but he's also trying out for the World Cup France team in the closed qualifier. Best of luck to him. And Team Peps had an off start, already losing to the Justice. But I'm excited for especially the Hybrid versus Kai matchup on the hit scan. Hybrid very much known for his Cassie, along with Kai, who I feel like got the title of top hit scan, or at least top Sojourn in the league with Atlanta last season.
Yeah, a small bit of Team UK rivalry here as well. Hybrid and Kai could likely be considered the best 2 hit scans in the UK, and as the World Cup starts to take shape, both of these guys are obviously going to be gunning for that spot on the roster. And yeah, I am a little bit nostalgic and fan of Team Peps. Naga was actually in the first ever match that I cast professionally, playing for Team Singularity back in 2018, an all-Danish team. I think Kellex might have been on that as well. LA Gladiators rolling out now, instead of on the Remacha that they showed the other day, on Dante's Doomfist.
I mean, not even Hawk is playing Doomfist, so what is Dante cooking? Of course, like, he was also known for his Doomfist last season with Houston, but Winston, I thought, was his thing. So for now, I guess Gladiators are just chilling on the point. And I think where Dante's set up to close range with the walls, he can get some really good stuns, gets one onto Krandop, is gonna block, also dodges asleep, and I think with that out of the picture, Dante could be even more aggressive, jumps up from behind the DPS of Team Peps, who are missing now their main tank and main healer, and at least he traded out with Dante, so 4v3 for the Glads, but it is cleaned up by Kevster and Kai.
Just all the control going over onto Krandop there. Dante hitting the empowered punch, getting a longer stun, and then Babel after that, or Babel, pardon me for nativized Korean version. Babel managed to hit the sleep onto Krandop as well, meaning that it was an easy burst. Now Krandop is going to be able to mirror the Winston here, and that's going to do a little bit to try and shut down those nades, but already Hybrid and Kellex have been afflicted by Babel.
For now, coming through this underside, just to avoid as much focus as possible. The anti-nade, though, from Babel hits, stops Team Peps from wanting to push in, although Krandop is going to jump in. Anti-heal gone. Zerion pulsed. It's a 1-to-1 trade, though, as Dante is going to chase after Krandop. Point still in favor of the Glads. Dante comfortable to just force Team Peps to come to him and let his DPS do the work, but with Kai missing, will have to be up to Kevster, and now the sound barrier to finish off with the Glad started.
There's an enemy here.
I like the sound barrier there to allow Dante to go a little bit deeper, knowing that they did lose Kevster a touch earlier in that fight. Of course, now Kevster has returned, and this is still anybody's fight, to be honest. There's a good amount of space being controlled by Team Peps, and Krandop still has the nano.
Oh, Krandop thinks he gets this kill on the Dante, confirms that. 77% for the Glads. Kevster heading for the hills. Team Peps starting to flip, and not seeing Kevster want to stall that out. He's going to go back to the team.
Yeah, perhaps a touch too far there from Dante, but also credit to Zerion hitting the flick shot on the sleep there. Absolutely imperative to shutting down the overall tempo of Los Angeles Gladiators' dive and space claim. Now, though, Babel will be able to claim that straight back with a nano boost onto Dante if they so desire. But check out Naga lying in wait up on the top. It's being checked at the moment by Funny Astro.
I wonder who Babel is going to want to nano. We've seen even some Cassidy's get it. He's kind of looking at Kai. Might have to be up to Dante to make that space. And he's nano Kai up to him to support the team, but he's got a primal of Krandop. It's 5v4 for the Glads. I think they lost Hybrid so early. Kai burning down this Winston now that out of Primal. Got the flip from the Glads at 83%, and Team Peps have to think quick because they got to recontest. That's hopefully in the cards.
Zeron with a fat nade has earned themselves another nano boost. That's obviously going to be going on to Crandop to keep this point contested if need be. Crandop has taken a wide leap here, and that's going to open a bit of space for Hybrid. However, right now suppressed by the Deadeye.
He's getting around it, gets slept, and yeah, the nano onto Hybrid will guarantee that kill. But Crandop got burned, making that space. Team Peps in a 4v3. Funny Astro still is to beat, decides to drop it, hits the 3 that are left for the Glads. They really believe they can pull this off. And Peps only have a few remaining, getting tossed around by Funny Astro, one of the most aggressive Lucios in the league, and fragged out when his team were down and needed him the most. 100 to 39, a big turnaround from how Nepal went yesterday for the Glads.
A beautiful tempo beat as well there by Funny Astro, and it seems that moving away from Matt Ramatra has been a bit of a service for Gladiators. Obviously, they did play a little bit more of the Winston, I believe, on that map Shrine yesterday. And Babel's been able to get a lot more usage out of the Ana as well. But I think Funny Astro there, the critical decision maker, putting down the sound barrier in the 3 versus 3 was very important for allowing the aggressive positions to be capitalized upon and give them a little bit of leeway to not be punished when they may well have been in some very awkward positions afterwards.
I think this is why Glads retained Funny Astro on the roster. Yeah, he only comes in to play Lucio, and they've gotten more supports to fill up the other departments, but he's a terror on the field and a great beat call to hit the 3. Now we go to Sanctum. We got the rush from Crandop and Friends. Of course, no May from Naga. Not the best on Sanctum, especially this pillar side. It's a little odd. Dante has always preferred the Ram over the Rhine, so I'm excited for this matchup.
Yeah, one of the things here about the Reinhardt you've got to know, you got to know Kai's accuracy, but you got to know as well that the Reinhardt rotations, as well as the Ramatra rotations, very inefficient, so they have to maneuver around that central death pit. I mean, they can't take direct fights most of the time.
Yeah, Crandop decided to go for the corner, thought the health pack would help, and then he got antied and slept, and just extra damage went in, when I feel like Crandop could have just went back towards the Mega side where the rest of his team were, but only a couple of kills as the Glads would be able to hold this choke.
Kai once again playing the off angle here. It's going to be difficult to dislodge him, but Dante is also making sure that Crandop has very little space to work with. It's a risky place to be against the Lucio, mind. Naga?
Someone is flipping the point down below. Peps should be free to do that. Peps now go back to the
leaves.
Yeah, everyone just leaves.
Yeah, Gladiators like, oh, we lost 2. We're just going to call that one. Overall, a solid disengage call, but here's Naga going absolutely Legolas mode. Oh, good catch, Kevster. Sonic arrow right to the dome. And Naga's proving that maybe he should be back in Overwatch League. Obviously, his time on the Paris Eternal, and who are now Vegas Eternal, was a little bit ignominious, but is definitely an incredibly talented player. His May in particular is fantastic, and I imagine we're going to see that later on in this series if Team Peps continue to play the Rhine.
Darion's in trouble. He got antied, Immortality's out, he's trying to play off the Ant Matrix, and Kevster, a menace in the back. Great pulse, very limited heals, and these dominoes are just going to crumble for Team Peps. Crandop is just trying to extend what little Team Peps have. Although it is a lead, I expect that to be flipped over, and the Glads farming as much as they can in terms of ult charge, and they get the point right back.
You cannot get a more valuable stick than Honor Baptiste, who has his window up, but no immortality field to put down. Absolute masterclass from Kevster on target priority and on how to approach those engages to a Baptiste. Really good forcing early on. Kai with a Sonic arrow here absolutely makes mincemeat of Hybrid.
Kai is so gross, and if Team Peps want to commit out of this door, you could see the Dragon Strike to isolate some members, and even Crandop was out that door, but Kai wants to see if he can actually get kills out of it. And especially if Team Peps aren't wanting to fight, you can just extend the lead that you have now for the Glads. Giving up that space, though, is an interesting call when you have that Dragon Strike going back to the pillars, taking advantage of the distance. There's a Deadeye from Hybrid, just to zone people away. The Dragon Strike from Kai comes late. Now a respawning Dragon from Kai. Team Peps have laid the red carpet all the way to the point and flip it essentially with maybe 1 or 2 kills.
Yeah, managed to speed over there, actually catch out Funny Astro on the point, I believe, and then overwhelm him 4 versus 1. Babel is in a very risky position. This is likely going to be a hostage situation that can be staggered out by Team Peps. We need to make sure not to give away too much space. And of course, Kevster here is going to be doing kind of a rear guard action to help the disengage of Babel.
Got a nano Kevster, everybody run! This is the thing of nightmares, but the sound barrier from Calyx just makes it so Kevster's chop is exhaustingly long. Immortality in place from Zerion too, but Team Peps, they kind of just negated this nano Kevster and just shot everybody else, and then Dante just fell off the map or reset with the team. So last fight for Team Peps to force round 3.
Overall, pretty strong choice from Calyx to try and exploit that early advantage using the sound barrier, getting rid of the threat from Kevster. And now you've got to try and move on to a point. Kevster's likely going to be the one to touch, but Crandall can get the instant slam. The second Annihilation is popped.
Ooh, and you're going to drop Dante off at daycare. But it's 4-2-3. Glad's down, but they have their supports. Kai has a big old shield in his way. Someone has to touch. Funny Astro is there. Crandop is antied. It's a 2v2 on the point. Crandop taking advantage of the corner. Calyx in a 1v2 surely can't really pull this off, but he is stalling for as long as he can. Flip for the Glads. Team Peps will reset as a team.
This has forced Dante, though, onto the Doomfist now. Not his idealized hero for this point, but still you can do some cheesy environmental knockoffs, and you're a good battler when it comes to the point itself. Still, the question is, how do you stop Team Peps from getting onto the point? Crandop himself has moved over to the Orisa. The huge amount of control that the Orisa offers is going to be excellent for shutting Dante down and being a huge, unbelievably hard-to-remove anchor on the point.
For now, we'll just try to anchor that point, like you said. Getting the flip. This has begun. Anti out from Babel. Gladiators have the weight on their shoulders to go contest this, to see if they can make this a flawless Nepal, but so far, Team Peps have a dragon to deal with. We'll clear out that point. Dante was able to carve through that pillar side. Hybrid over on pillars, though, with the Deadeye. Seeing if he can find Funny Astro or Kevster. They hide in closet, they avoid, but they step off the point, so Team Peps will force to round 3.
Crandop ended up dying there because he had to use so many of his cooldowns to actually wrestle control of the point away. But it was part of the longer plan from Team Peps to get control of the point, start Los Angeles Gladiators having to continuously move in and out of the point super quickly because the overtime whip was starting to go down increasingly fast, and then zoning them away at the best moment with the Deadeye. An excellent battle plan from Team Peps, and Los Angeles Gladiators were sent reeling. Oh, what a boop. Great stuff from Calyx.
To stop the touch. Then you had the Deadeye to deal with. I think Dante losing control of pillars while he was on Doomfist. I mean, wasn't a great matchup for him having to deal with an Orisa. I always swap to Orisa when I have an annoying Doom player on my ranked teams. The Javelin. Such kryptonite to that. But we go back to the Rhine versus Ram here on Village. This is where the Gladiators dominated yesterday, it felt like. Let's see. It's a high ground control for Team Peps. Funny Astro looking for any boops. Unsuccessful. Maywall behind the Glads. Dante taking so much pressure. Kevster thinks that's a distraction to find his way to the back line, and killing Zerion is a big, big accomplishment. Taking away those heals. Although you thought Team Peps had the jump, Gladiators struck even harder. They go to the point just to deal with these last few members, and that'll be the Glads with the point first.
In this fight, Lemon, we saw both of the critical points about how these compositions are going to interact. And that's Kevster trying to kill Zerion successfully, and then Naga trying to kill Kevster. It's a battle of the Scandinavians here, because Naga on the make and one-tap Kevster. 150 HP, Icicle to the bonds, ain't surviving that. However, without a Tracer of their own, it means that Naga's going to have to be Team Peps' sort of designated Tracer repellent to keep Zerion safe. And if Naga moves too far away, Zerion's going to be incredibly exposed.
Oh, Kevster, I guess, got exposed, too. So Glads will have that flank pressure. They'll have to fight from front to back. Immortality out of the way, and Kai couldn't jump and avoid Hybrid. Gets a 2K. And that's a flip for Team Peps, and 3K in that fight will help the ult charge for sure.
And here, one of the things that's going to be super important is going to be that Blizzard. You can try and shut down Dante's Annihilation with the Blizzard, because if you could freeze him up and simply stick Crandop in front of him with a shield, you can block off the tendrils that come from that Annihilation and instantly cancel the ult, as it ticks down from 3 seconds to 0 in real time. We'll see if Naga wants to do that, but also remember the wall can be used to mess with Dante's ult as well, so he needs to be super judicious with when this is popped.
Yeah, Naga's so close to the Blizzard too, and Dante snuck up on him. Team Peps trying to play off that wall and that Blizzard as their win condition. They step actually outside of the point. Blizzard right in their face, the sound barrier too, but the Annihilation plus the nano of the Gladiators is too much to handle. Along with Kester's Pulse Bomb, that gets also a shiny gold sticker. Glad's back in control.
Yeah, good read there from Dante as well to W forward using the Annihilation speed boost you get from a Nemesis form when the Blizzard was actually thrown out in the first place. Naga threw it a little bit too deep, and so Dante couldn't be fully frozen and then was able to quickly find that backline and expose them with the pummels. Deadeye being used as a commuting tool here by Hybrid, but this is super important. You reduce the pressure your Ryan takes on the approach, and then you can get on top of people like Babel.
Trying to see that angle where Team Peps want to jump down. I guess they're going to play this front to back off the Amp Matrix of Zerion, forcing the flip. Glads don't have a great contest tool besides Kepster is more busy trying to kill support, but Grandop wins the tank battle. And you don't have that flank presence from Gladiators, at least not in time, as Dante couldn't get healed, and Funny Asher wasn't there with the barrier in time, so Dante goes to Doomfist.
Okay, the Doomfist is going to be a little bit better for trying to mess with these overall formations, trying to knock an isolated squish off the high ground, perhaps. As Dante is going to be pressuring them. Oh, that's a bad ice block. That means that Naga has to move in vulnerable.
Sound barrier from Funny Astro doesn't hit as many members as he would have hoped. As Team Pep try to bunker down, but they're getting pummeled by so many angles, and losing Zerion early has been such a crutch for Team Peps. Just not having the amount of heals against Babel and others is rough, as Glads take their angles and they won the fight.
Oh man, I hate to boil it all down to one thing, but if Naga managed to get that ice block on the point, then Team Peps definitely could have played that a lot more slowly and had a lot more consideration for the resources and cooldowns that Gladiators had available. Now Kevster, speaking of a resource, the Pulse Bomb, good to go. May well see a repeat of trying to force out Zerion's Immortality Field early with a well-placed clip, and then finishing him off.
Kevster, so close to killing Hybrid there. Pulse sticks! Immortality taken care of too. Crandop slept, and Team Peps had ults. They had win conditions, but couldn't make up their minds in time. Glads overtime about to go away. Round 3 in their hands, and Glads will take map 1.
Made to sweat and made to try, but in the end, it was a curious pick in the Flex Support versus Plex Support. But Bell picking up Zerion super early and also a really early force of that Immortality Field. It feels like Anna right now was in a fantastic position to try and manhandle the Baptiste by forcing out the Immo early, using pressure tools like the Anti-Nade. But I am pretty enthused here by what we've seen from Team Peps. If they can take us to a more rush-centric map where they can consistently find these May Rhine fights like King's Row, Gladiators might not have an easy time of it.
They make it look easy, at least. I think Team Peps needed to be more proactive with these fights. I think if you let Kevster have the time to get set up behind you and you let Dante push from the front, Gladiators, their pinch is deadly, and I don't think Crandop and friends can just sit idly by. And that's where I liked maybe that proactivity of Naga throwing in the Blizzard outside of the point instead of letting Gladiators come to them. Because I think if they just sit and wait, especially on a map like Village or a map like Shrine that we saw, that's where Gladiators surrounded them. They divided and they conquered. Naga, I think, had a really strong showing against Kai on the Hanzo, although it just really came down to power positions on the map, namely that Pillars side. And Dante kind of floating between Ram and Doomfist has been an interesting look to try and counter swap against Peps.
Indeed, it has been. Like Dante, we know, has a pretty wide hero pool as a fresh tank player. To be honest, there are two players who were former Overwatch League DPS who are no longer playing DPS on the Gladiators. One's Babel, who used to play, I believe, Widowmaker and similar heroes for the 2020 iteration of London Spitfire. Krillin also came from that roster, and then went back to Contenders in Korea, went on to O2 Blast, became a Flex Support, became a particularly deadly Flex Support with O2 Blast run, playing the Kiriko. And the same for Dante, of course. It went from being a DPS player from Houston Outlaws to being their de facto tank, and then being poached by Gladiators. He did so well last time.
Yeah. Well, Gladiators are also doing so well right now. They've taken map number 1, and they're on match point. After this break, you'll find out if Team Pep still got the pep in their step.
but now Shotgun's down. That is the delay tactics widely dealt
In a 4v5, oh, not quite so much anymore. Kevster dishing out the damage.
This is giving me vibes of Florida against the Atlanta Rain. What? That is dirty. A rough return here, just kind of getting bullied. That is it.
Wave hello, maybe goodbye to the rest of your team, Decay, because Lastro's on the field. Nano Zen just to keep him alive.
rolling, trying to keep everybody alive. And Hydron, oh boy, punched into oncoming traffic. Dante shuts him down.
Well, that hype video is next level. You got to see the Dante Doomfist at the very end. We have some news to break. Well, I guess not us, but Twitter be popping these days. Take a look at this.
Yeah, it's Sean Miller
Showing my
breaking the
magic.
news so that we do not have to due to severe weather conditions at their facility. Today's matches featuring Redbird Esports have been postponed. The desk will have a longer breakdown on what's going to be happening instead later on, so that Lemon and I can focus on this match. And, well, we had a good look at that hype video coming through from the LA Gladiators, and, well, they showed quite a few players there, so why don't we also get to expand the number of Gladiators players that we get to see? We've got ourselves a quick substitution, Lem. Looks like we're swapping over to a double flex.
We have to focus on people who can play Overwatch. And you know somebody who I was a real big fan of? Maybe it was Cope. But every time I watched New York Excelsior play last season, I looked at Yaki, and he's a game changer on his Tracer. He's the one pop-off player on New York Excelsior last year that would make my preds shake. So Yaki's coming in instead of Kai, and you have Lastro making an appearance. We saw yesterday he played a map, I believe Blizzard World, where they ran the Ana Kiriko. Now the Kevster Yaki DPS duo line is really interesting.
I really dig the Ana Kiriko. I don't know if we're going to see Ana Kiriko here on King's Row. It likely would be very good for the first point defense because it means that Ana basically never has to drop away from the high ground, of appeal that the Kiriko can give can be very sufficient with her teleportation and her swift step. However, we did see a couple of hiccups from the Los Angeles Gladiators going up against the Team Peps rush. And, well, Team Peps are a Europe team. And speaking as a proud Brexit boy myself, Europe loves its Rhine. We like the big hammer man with the shield. We were born with the Rhine, molded by the Rhine. The legendary Rhines of old, Coco, Fraggy, LH Cloudy, they were all forged in the crucible of European ranked. And Los Angeles Gladiators, they're going to need to be ready to rebuff that kind of approach unless Crandall actually plays for Diva and makes me waste all my breath.
Well, they need a different game plan, whatever it is. Team Peps actually played and chose King's Row yesterday against the Washington Justice, where they started off on defense, gave up a 3-minute time bank to the Justice, and then lost that map, and that was the 0-2 or 2-0 loss in that case. But started off with some Rhine Rush, May Cassidy for them, the Lucio Bap, and then when they couldn't get to point B after several attempts on their attack, they swapped to kind of this Tracer Cassidy dive with Lucio Ana. So Team Peps aren't afraid to change up their strategy, although kind of the trend with contenders teams is they stick to what they know and what they're best at.
I do like a little bit of a faster look, though, from Crandall being able to try and get on top of Lastro and disrupt the healing that Gladiators are going to be able to push into Dante, who's going to have plenty of healing coming his way between both the Kiriko and the Ana. At the moment, though, it's just going to be a slight exchange of poking as both teams will jostle for positions. And I think we might see Kellex and Naga wrapping around the outside to try and dislodge Babel.
Team Peps on the approach, and yeah, these anti-nades from Lastro. That's why you play this backside. You have a great angle to lob these over and then jump on them afterwards, but losing Babella is not the intended start. Lastro has to use the nade on themselves too. Gladiators in not so healthy position, and Dante has to fall back just to protect their supports. Meanwhile, I'd love to see Naga put pressure on this point. At least if you're getting these initial kills, it would be great to have a tick out of it. Naga doesn't know where his supports are, gets headshot by Kevster, couldn't go there alone, and I feel like Peps really blew a good opportunity.
Yes, everyone's getting suppressed so hard at the moment by Kevster, Yaki, and Lastro, just sending in those constant snipes around this choke point. You can see that Sonic arrow is consistently pinging Hybrid and Zerion's location, and now the opening that Babel was slaying opened has been closed once more.
bubble in the way. Hybrid can also take control of Hotel, but really a lot of Gladiators are sat up on this high ground. Babel again the first of all, but this happened last time and Gladiators weren't too worried. They sit on the high ground, they have Dante anchored the point, and he's gonna do more than just that. He's just got nanoed by Lastro. Not seeing a lot of damage being taken by Peps. Really their supports are zoned off. Yaki gets involved and Team Peps are getting dismantled.
Huge movement by Kellex. That move actually forced a Primal Rage to try and get the reset, and Dante is by no means home free here. Can disengage, but I've got to say it, Lemon. Babel cannot be picked in the same location again. His disengagement game is bloody weak. Twice in the same place. You can teleport. You need to be more judicious with when you can take those duels and when you cannot.
It's very different than playing with a Lucio that can kind of boop or at least escort you out of danger. While it's connecting with your Ana, it's a little bit more difficult. Babel at least picks off Hybrid. 4v3 for Team Peps, trying to take control of Hotel so that they're safe from the dive, and Zerion was just left all by themselves. And, you know, no Primal, no Nano came out. Team Peps just have a really hard time taking the initiative and getting something out of it.
Babel's timing much better right there. I think actually joining Yaki in a dive to try and pressure out Zerion once they essentially had him pinned into that hotel. However, Team Peps coming up on 5 ultimates. Surely we can grug up, press all the Qs and take this point. But to rebuff them, if Crandop dives too deep, I would expect to see a Kitsune rush from Babel to enjoy that extra DPS to burn him down.
Last fight, only 2 limbs recorded by Team Peps. Hopefully you can get a few more. Nano Winston going after Kepster, climbing up the wall. Babel, Suzu leaves behind the Kitsune rush, teleports out, and this is why chasing a Kiriko is kind of tough, as I guess Craneup's going to go see what the rest of the map is like, because I don't know if they're going to get to see it like that. There's 34 seconds left.
And Gladiators actually made a critical choice in that fight as well, Lemon. And that's having Lastro play in a different window compared to where he was going previously. That meant that Crandop, when he dove in, he was instantly evaded by a wall climb and leap from Kevster, whereas if it was an Ana, the ability to leave would be much harder. Primal, please? Yeah. There we go.
But his team has to go. The initiative is taken. Cranop's been slept. Lastro's 1 HP. Left behind a Nano for Yaki. Kevster's Dragon cutting off Team Peps, who are running out of ultimates, running out of lives. And you need to do more than just 2 ticks, but the momentum is there. Yaki behind, harassing Hybrid. Tough matchup against the Cassidy. Dante is going to finish it off, though. Even trades. Presence on the point by Team Peps. They have close spawns, but they only have 2 people left, so it's going to be up to Naga to put the hero cape on, and Yaki will give him the good old backhand, and Team Peps will not be able to unlock that payload.
Yeah, the hero cape was supposed to be donned, but the Gladiator said, baby, we're the Avengers. You don't get to hero with us. Team Peps. Well, it's not lost, Lemon, but it is going to be bloody hard to win. An ironclad defense is going to be required here, and honestly, I think that Team Peps did have the right idea here of playing a more vertical composition. Like, if you're playing the Reinhardt, it could be so hard to try and dislodge Lastro from one of those positions. I don't know what they could have done better to potentially remove Lastro. Maybe you play a Sombra instead, so you can try and run a 50-50 pincer dive by having the Sombra set up, and then have Crandop move in afterwards, or like engage with the leap while the Sombra uncloaks. But in many of these cases, it really seems like Lastro is only being attacked by Crandop, and you know that Lastro, he's gonna hit those sleeps, he's gonna hit those nades.
And Yaki has recorded 0 deaths in that first round, and man, the prediction on that recall is disgusting. Yaki just got subbed in, first time seeing him out, and he's doing the Lord's work back here, and it's just no wonder Team Peps can't get a dive going with this guy back here.
Yeah, Yaki's being an absolute terror. Start off, it's an old tradition, of course, of the LA Gladiators to stick a Widowmaker up on here. This was the site of the Great Bamboozle, and that was LA Gladiators, I believe, Surefor, who made that one work. So why not have a cheeky peeky here, see if anyone from Team Peps wants to try their luck against the old Kevster roulette. And also, the synergy with the Sonic Arrow is not to be understated as well, and even in the worst of cases, with the new changes for Overwatch 2, you can turn it into charge for your next ultimate, like Deadeye in this case. Now, Oh, actually, that's a early lead.
What I really like too is that Yaki is playing Tracer and Kevster's on the hit scan, kind of truly proving that Kevster is like this flex god. You can have your maybe #1 Tracer out there, or if you need more options, Yaki can come in and kind of let Kevster play other things. So we're seeing so many different looks from the Gladiators, and Dante talked about that pressure of being so flexible. And man, this fight looks so easy, and this is how a dive is done, everybody. You go and you do not hesitate. And look, they're not even letting them respawn. Look at Yaki Kevster run back there. Team Peps ain't got much left to say. And in this best of 3, the Gladiators take a swift and pretty ugly 2-0.
And like you said, like that dive was executed a lot better. I loved the early jump from Dante onto that first piece of high ground, because that was all about buying space for Babel to try and play the off angle with the Kiriko. The crosshair placement was amazing. Headshots came through, and that made people so much easier to chunk down with a second phase of the dive coming through from the long range hit scan that we saw from Kevster. As you pointed out, this could be the year with Yaki on the team where Kevster really gets to show how flexible he is, and he's not just a Tracer god.
Yeah, that was a good warm-up for Glads, because I feel like they got the final boss coming up of the Boston Upres, and of course the desk will talk about the Redbird Esports situation. But a doubleheader today with not that match in between means Glads gotta bring that momentum, and they sure looked good today. I know everyone was saying that the shakiness was evident yesterday, but I think they're back on top, and now that they have all their players in their facility with enough time to be together, it's glad to see Glads. I'm glad to see Glads back on top. But also, player of the match, someone who really stood out today. Your player of the match is Babel.
What a pickup Babel was. Like we said, assembling the Avengers from so many different teams. Babel came from O2 Blast, the academy team of the San Francisco Shock. He was an absolute menace over in Korean contenders, and this was actually such an important pick that we highlighted towards the end of Nepal. Grabbing Zerion that early. Babel's sense of timing, especially in conjunction with Dante and Yaki, has been sublime in order to try and create some openings, even though we did see a couple of maybe too egotistical lack of TPs at the beginning of King's Row. The rest of the team make hay while the sun shines. And the sun shines because Babel opened up so many of those early fights with well-placed headshots that meant it was hard to recover for the amount of damage that was being done.
Yeah, I think the Ana was a huge diff in that first map of the amount of times he's able to nano Dante to make that space, and then those anti-nades, and kind of that was the go sign for a lot of their fights. Then when it came to King's Row, like, yeah, he maybe had the most amount of deaths on that one, but I think once he figured out the timing on his teleports, he also wasted a lot of Krandop's time, and that's how Krandop found himself in Narnia on King's Row, and kind of messed up a lot of the tempo that Team Peps had there. But speaking of tempo, like I said, Glads have another match coming up. We're going to hear from the desk during an extended break, so Glads have time to have their snackies and whatnot, and hopefully I have enough to break down because Glads made this pretty swift. So we will see you all on the other side of this break.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Game Break. We're going to start this one off with a quick announcement. Lemon, Kiwi, and Leg, they already alluded to it, that we have some changes in our schedule. So let's pull up the tweet from Sean Miller to see exactly what is happening. He writes that due to severe weather at the facility of, that is of course Redbird Esports, today's matches featuring Redbird Esports have been postponed. The health and safety of players is the highest priority. Grateful the organization has taken appropriate steps to help ensure their safety. As a result, we're working with Redbird and their opponents to identify appropriate times to reschedule these matches, and we'll share these updates with the community as soon as we have them. Today, we will have an abridged schedule that will still feature 3 matches, beginning with the Gladiators versus Team Peps, which is what we just got to watch, followed by the Uprising versus the Gladiators, and concluding with Wisp versus the Uprising. We thank all the teams and players today for their flexibility and consideration. Thank you so much, Sean, for the update. So there you have it. Of course, we hope that everyone is staying safe in the region over where Redbird Esports is currently located, and we hope to see them on the servers very soon. For now, however, let's break down the match we just got to saw. Yesterday, we talked about Gladiators, you know, not looking as dominant as we really wanted them to, but today, a different kind of Gladiators. You definitely can tell that they were, you know, they were in it. They were a good look for the Gladiators. Matt, what was that face? Matt's just like,
no, they're yeah. Cut ahead. I think it's safe to say,
yeah.
Right? They looked really good. I don't think really kind of like any of these teams you'll see, you know, from even the Overwatch League side are really in final form for what we'll see in the season. But we saw really nice things from the DPS line, which I think is to be expected all season long, right? With Kepster, Kai, and Yaki. I think those 3 players are just fantastic. It's just kind of how do you make the rest of the team work? Which Dante, you know, switching over, playing that tank role now full time. He has the mechanical skill, obviously, to play all the tanks. It's just, I know that kind of like in-game awareness knowledge. Like, can he pick it up fast? I believe he can.
Yeah, I mean, he talked about that yesterday in our interview as well, right, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, he was saying that, you know, he was feeling a bit stressed because he had to pick up so many different heroes, but I think he's doing a fantastic job. And like what Matt said about the DPS lineup, I really like it. I think this was our first time seeing Yaki, right? And I think he absolutely popped off. And I think Lemon, Kiwi, and Leg, they highlighted it pretty well. How, you know, having so much talent on the DPS lineup like allows them to have so much more flexibility. We all know that Kevster is a great tracer, but Yaki is also a great tracer, which means that either of the two could flex onto a different hero and just, you know, go crazy as well. So I think Gladiators, they're, you know, I think they're becoming more and more interesting as more matches are being played, definitely.
Now let's take a look at some of the numbers from Yaki. That's very dramatic. Wow. So here is Yaki as Tracer in this very match. 0 deaths, just unkillable. Very slippery little Tracer right there. He's been a standout player pretty much every season in one point of time. He's been, this is, what is that? His third year in the Overwatch League, right? Yeah, so he started with the Florida Mayhem, moved over to the New York Excelsior, and is now playing for the Gladiators.
I mean, the stat card just shows like how talented he is. I think, and even last season, from what I remember, you know, on NYXL, the team didn't have that much success. But Yaki, just as a player, I think he still stood out to me when he was on NYXL. So just being on this roster with Kevster and Kai, it's just kind of crazy.
Well, the skill has never been the question with Yaki. It's like, can he play in a winning formula, like set with a team, right? You know, New York last year, oftentimes he was just kind of like, you would think like somebody in your ranked games, blasting the music going off in their own lane and just try to just kill backlines, which can work against some teams but can't against others. So it's like, how can you actually kind of work him in as a player who can play in like a winning system? Like, I think that's still kind of up for debate, but the thing that you can't debate with Yaki is just his individual skill on every single hero. I mean, the guy is just unbelievable.
Absolutely. And we are looking at the other side here for a second as well. Team Peps. They managed to sneak around from Nepal off of the hands from the Gladiators. So let's take a look at Sanctum and see how they got it done.
I mean, I think this was, for me, it was really close, but it was, of course, Team Peps, getting the better, of course, getting the win at the end. And they looked a lot better. I think I was very impressed about, as we're seeing right now, Naga's Hanzo, I think, was a clutch play. I think he sort of played a big part in Peps winning this team fight and also winning the round as well.
Yeah, we saw them play some Orisa as well, which is quite interesting, from Team Peps. But I think this is the type of thing, I think we talked a bit about it in the pregame. It's like if they were going to win, you thought it would be in these like rush brawly style comps, right? Then that's kind of what they took advantage of there.
Yeah, it's actually not the first time we're seeing Orisa so far in this tournament as well. Maybe that's just like to, secure some point presence or whatever it might be. It's definitely interesting to see Orisa being played in the mix there as well. Now, we do have an interview ready for you all, and this one is going to be with Bubble. So, Danny, take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Zoe. And we have the player of the match. We have Bubble joining for the post-match interview. 바벨 선수 들리시나요? 안녕하세요.
아, 네, 안녕하세요. 잘 들려요.
Right, Babel says hi. All right, and he says and thankfully he could hear me very well, loud and clear. All right, awesome. Let's jump right into the interview. So, Babel, I think the last time we saw you in the Overwatch League was when you were a DPS player and you were playing for the London Spitfire, and time passed and you're coming back to the league and now you're a support player. So how did that role change happen? 자, 일단 첫 번째 질문으로 바벨 선수, 제 기억으로 마지막으로 저희가 리그에서 바벨 선수를 봤었을 때가 딜러였던 거로 제가 기억을 하는데, 이제 좀 시간이 지나고 다시 리그로 돌아오면서 이제 역할이 좀 바뀌었죠. 이번 힐러로 들어오시게 되셨는데 이 역할이 어떻게 변환이 되셨나요?
아, 그 주변에서 서브힐러 해보는 거 어떻냐고 권유하기도 했고, 특히 전에 있던 오토블라스트 팀 감독님이랑 코치들이 서브힐러로 와주면 정말 좋을 것 같다 해서 고민하다가 하게 됐어요.
It was pretty simple. I think people around me, my peers around me, told me, sort of suggested that like I play flex support. They were asking me or giving me advice. They were telling me that why don't you try out playing flex support. And not only that, our coaches and head coach of the O2 Blast, my previous team, they told me that we'll be really grateful if you could jump on that flex support role to help out the team. So that's how it made the change. I mean, I'm gonna quickly follow up on that. I mean, you did make the change because of your peers and I guess because of the O2 coaches. But do you like playing support more, or do you feel like DPS is more of your role? 자, 방금 어떻게 보면은 이제 힐러로 넘어오게 된 계기를 말씀해 주셨는데, 그냥 개인적인 바벨 선수의 생각을 좀 듣고 싶어요. 바벨 선수가 보셨을 때는 솔직히 말해서 좀 이게 힐러가 더 맞는 포지션인 것 같은지, 아니면 딜러가 좀 더 맞는 것 같은지, 아니면 둘 다 재밌던지 어떠신 것 같습니까?
아, 딜러도 재밌긴 한데 이 서브 딜러라는 포지션이 상대를 때리는 것도 할 수 있어서 약간 딜러의 재미를 같이 느낄 수 있어서 좋은 것 같아요.
Yeah, I mean playing DPS is really fun, but I mean playing flex support it has its own color and it's really unique that you could heal your teammates. Not only that, you could also deal damage. You could sort of get that DPS vibe from the flex support as well. So I'm actually enjoying playing flex support for the Gladiators. All right, I mean my next question I do want to ask, because the current Gladiators teams, I feel like, are filled with veterans. Everyone that has been playing the league last season, and of course, big names are joining the team as well. As someone that is coming from O2 Blast, do you feel more pressured to sort of perform with given how many veterans are in your roster? 자, 두 번째 질문은 바벨 선수를 제외하고 나서 아무래도 이제 다른 팀원들은 다 저번 시즌에서도 좀 이렇게 쟁쟁한 선수들, 꽤 이름을 날렸던 선수들이 많기 때문에 이번 현 글래디 로스터에 O2 블래스트 티어 2 어떻게 보면 컨텐더스에서 넘어온 선수가 바벨 선수뿐이기 때문에 조금 더 부담감이나 좀 이런 거를 경기 도중이나 아니면 뭐 스크림을 할 때 좀 이럴 때 좀 느끼시나요?
한국에서 스크림 할 때는 처음에 좀 느꼈던 것 같은데 미국 와서 스크림 하면서 아예 그런 생각 없어지고 잘 연습했던 것 같아요.
Right, definitely when I was scrimming from Korea before I came to the US, I definitely felt those burdens. I definitely felt that. But as soon as I landed in LA, when I came to America and you know, when I was in person practicing with my teammates, it got a lot better. And right now I don't feel as burdened as much as I did when I was in Korea. All right, Pavel, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much for your time. And again, big congratulations on the win and good luck in your next match. 자, 승리 축하드리면서 다음 경기도 화이팅 하시는 걸 바라면서 인터뷰 마치도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bobel. And of course, good luck in the next match, which is about to happen very soon as they are getting ready. As I said prior to the interview, we have some schedule changes. So our next match will be Gladiators and the Boston Uprising. Now, as you can see on your screen, that's right. These are our revamped 2023 team jerseys. On your screen right now is, of course, the Gladiators one, and you too can have one of those. So make sure to head on over to our store to take a look at your favorite team Pro Kit jerseys for the 2023 season. Now, I think it's really interesting to hear, Danny, from him about that change in role, because quite frankly, I do think that it actually adds a lot of good things to a team if a player transitions from one role to another. I feel like a tank who previously played DPS or a support who previously DPS, they kind of approach that role differently.
I mean, I definitely feel so, and we could kind of see from how Babel plays, because when I see Babel play, I don't know, for Ana or especially Kiriko as well, he's pretty aggressive. And like he said in the interview, you know, you get the best of both worlds. While you heal and support your teammates, you could also sort of get those kills and sort of be a semi DPS when you're playing Flame.
That face is like, please don't, please don't.
Look, what Babel is trying to say is that they asked him to play flex support. He reluctantly said, okay, fine. And now he's trying to find the positives of it, which are being able to do some of the things he was still doing, playing damage. But the fact that he's on a team and he's playing well and playing a lot on flex support, he's not going to come out and be like, oh, I just want to be a DPS again. Of course he's going to be like, yeah, flex support, yeah, this is great. I love this. Keep it going.
Let him have it, Matt.
Hey!
We're trying to hype him up there.
I don't know. He could have been honest. You're like, hey, no. Flex is fun, but hey, I kind of like DPS. That's not gonna hurt him.
When you even flex Q in like the game and you play DPS and support, really you're only doing support because you're like, oh well, I can get into a game fast. It's kind of like the same thing. It's like, oh well, you know, teams are looking for support, so I can get on. And you know, he probably was like, oh man, hey, somebody actually wants me as a support. All right, fine, I'll give this a shot.
Give this a shot. Well, he's looking pretty good. Yeah, he's looking pretty good in the shot he's given it. And quite frankly, if you can play support like you can play your DPS and just look deadly, why not? You know, definitely going to benefit your team. Yeah. Let's see if he can get it or keep on. I don't know where I was supposed to go with it.
Keep on going.
That one.
Let's take that. Going.
Yeah, let's keep on going in their next match. This is about to happen very soon. But first, we're going to head into a quick break. And we're going to see you on the other side. Welcome back! Penguins. What a sight for sore eyes. Another great sight for sore eyes is, of course, some merch. That's right, because you can get your hand on our Overwatch League Pro-Am event jerseys. That's right, and they are limited to get. They're only available until the end of the Pro-Am tournament. So grab yours now in your shop, in our shop, actually. Your shop.
Your shop is our
my
shop.
shop.
We all are one shop.
This is fantastic. I don't know, there's something about having Matt on the desk which just throws me off my game just by his presence alone.
I was gonna say,
it's just like some chaos radiating from you.
I was gonna say it's a long day, but like in actuality, it's become a way shorter day if you see the schedule here on the screen.
And yet spending time with you feels like forever, Matt.
That's true.
Not
Feels
sure
like twice
if
as long.
insults are compliments. Either way, I'm pretty excited to head into this next match, and because we're going to finally see Boston Uprising playing. We've been talking about that roster quite a bit now. They are a star-studded lineup. I mean, looking at those legends, wow.
Oh man, where do I even start? Where do we even start? Okay, Smurf on the tank was a crazy great tank player from Seoul Dynasty. Birdwing, we heard from him from the pre-show. Decay, another crazy Tracer player, and of course Nijagon and Twilight, both just great. This is another just like it's like
Danny can't
Houston,
even,
but
okay.
with blue. It's like Houston, but in blue color. And like
What does that even mean, Danny?
like it's just like Houston. Houston's like a stacked roster. Boston just looks like a stacked roster as well, but with different color.
Look,
no,
I think this roster looks awesome. The amount that I'm worried about this roster though is like through the roof.
Why? What makes you worry?
Well, look, I want to see like Decay play a whole season. I want to see like Birdwing, you know. Look, when they're rolling your highlights and your highlight is sniping Zebasai, Zebasai hasn't been in the league in like 5 years. So like, you know, we got to see Birdwing start to turn up. And a little bit of a revenge game, right? Against the Gladiators, former team. Maybe comes out, plays with a little extra something
I'm
here.
sure that's in the back of his mind.
Yeah.
Birdwing revenge game.
Feeling very, very strongly about this.
I mean, Birdwing was with Gladiators the last time, like before his retirement, right? But I mean, I think this match is interesting because first of all, we get to see Boston Uprising, like how well are they gonna do, right? Because this is their first time playing, and also for Gladiators, I think this is a great test of strength for Gladiators. Like, are they really good, or was it just like, you know, a one-time thing because they were going up against contender teams?
Yeah, this is definitely the first time they're going to be tested to the limits, or so we hope, unless the Boston Uprising show up and completely flop. But that's unlikely, just given the caliber players we have on that team.
I mean, there's a way. I mean, we've seen this with teams in the past, Danny. There definitely, certainly is a way. I mean, I think they probably just have too much talent for it to go that way. But we've seen this in the past. You know, there is one team each year that we're like, oh, there's no way it goes wrong, and then it just goes horribly wrong.
No. There's no way possible. That
I feel like you're speaking it into existence, Danny.
I don't know.
Like, that's
Earlier,
a bad GG.
Earlier, Danny told me that there was like an 180% chance that Atlanta and Houston.
180? What did I say? 180?
But you said like 90 for both teams.
No,
so
I
like,
said 99.9.
Okay,
That's
so
not
even
100.
higher.
Yeah. 99.9%.
Math isn't our strong suit here on the desk, but we're really, really good at just claiming things or, you know, making predictions. Also, very good at totally never being wrong. So let's take a look at the predictions for this match, because I'm actually very interested to see where we're going with this. I went with the Boston Uprising. Because,
let's go.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is an unknown. They could flop, but I just don't think it's possible because individually they're just so good. And the Gladiators so far, they haven't really been tested. They went up against two contenders teams, and they did drop it here and there against those contenders teams. So until they got all their ducks in a row, I have to go with Boston Uprising here.
Yeah. I'm on the same boat. I went with Boston Uprising. I don't know why you guys are doubting the Boston Uprising. You guys are saying that Boston might flop, but I don't think that's the case. And also Gladiators, yeah, they look strong.
I'm not doubting them.
Like
I just give myself
said,
an out.
True.
Okay.
I mean,
no
outs
here. No, can't. We're not. You can't pick on both sides. Cannot pick on both sides.
Can I finish my sentence, guys?
Please, yes, I'm so sorry.
Gladiators. All right, Gladiators look good, but like Sophie said, they were going up against contenders players and they were dropping maps, so that was worrying for me. So I went with Boston on paper, who look stacked, just like Houston and Atlanta. So I'm betting on them.
Well, I took the Gladiators because I'm not picking based off of the game on the paper. We have seen the Gladiators play pretty well this far. It's a 1st to 2, so it's a short series, a little bit of a toss-up. And I think Boston, I think their roster's really great on paper. I think it's probably going to take a little bit of an adjustment period, to bring in all these big personalities from different teams and get them together on the same page. So I went with the Gladiators here.
All right, so much doubt coming from Mr. X. I wonder if our casters share in on that doubt, or if they're also pretty hyped up about that Boston squad. There's only one way to find out, and that's handing it over to Jen and Harry.
Oh, we're on first name basis. We're getting kind of tight with the desk. We love to see it. A lot of doubt on the desk, though, for real. Like, it's almost like the Gladiators are undefeated, and this is Boston's first match, and there's a lot more hype for Boston. Well, what camp are you sitting in, Leg?
I am sitting in the camp of the Kongdu loyalists, baby, because the blessed child has returned. He has emerged from the dark ether and back into the light of day. Birdring's back, baby. Woo! And as a legacy Kongdu fan, as a Season 1 London fan, I could not be more absolutely stoked to see this hitscan legend back on the stage. Antarctic Peninsula is going to be our first map. I don't know how to say those words because there's only one word that I care about saying in this particular cast, and that is Birdring.
I know, right? And starting lineups, Birdring's playing alongside Decay. A lot of personality on Boston. A full roster, 3 supports, 3 DPS, 2 tanks. Boston have options. This is a complete rebuild from last season. And I like to joke around and say Boston were just like building up their economy, while all the teams were spending their money. They were waiting for their moment to strike. And if it's not a good season for them, Striker will leave them again. So go back to the Shock and then come back to Boston. We'll wait for the ultimate Boston season. I think this could be the season of the uprising. But Gladiators, they've already proven in terms of results that no one's been able to touch them. At least not that when they're warmed up.
You know how most employment contracts have like a performance clause where you can be dismissed if you're not performing up to par? There's a reverse one in Striker's contract. If Boston don't pop off, I'm out of here, baby, as we head on out. Gladiators on the other side. We've already seen them today, and while there were a couple of shaky plays, with a double flex in particular, they looked absolutely unstoppable as we move out here onto Labs. Dante's going to once again be enjoying the Ramatra, but you could be going up against a more fearsome Winston than the legend himself in Smurf.
Yeah, Dante already showed a couple of picks in our earlier match just 15 minutes ago from the Winston, the Doomfist, the Ram. He's trying to counterpick as much as he can, and I think he's quite comfortable in the Winston mirror. And so far, you've lost Babel, you've lost Twilight, and a tank for Glads. Boston ahead, now able to take so much space now that Smurf is free and Birdring is unloading. So first fight for Boston.
So check out that cool little thing in our UI there when you look at Smurf. He's got the roll star icon in the bottom left next to his portrait. And it's a good chance to talk about the accolades of a Boston Uprising. I believe the most title wins of any team we have, Lee Shagon, Izayaki, and Twilight all having at least one to their name. Smurf's got one, Birdring's got one from Season 1. Only Decay has actually not walked away with a season win himself, but who knows? Season 6 is upon us here in 2023, and there's always hope, Lemon.
Kind of how I said the Gladiators were the Avengers. It feels like Boston also took a lot of good pieces from other teams. Decay needing a better team after the Justice, and I was hyping you up for that pulse bomb, man. And now Kepster's shining bright on the other side. He gets a pick on this Smurf. Both tanks removed as we have a 4v4 taking place. But Boston just trying to play off the picks. They've actually nanoed Birdring, who slaps Kai in the head, goes for a double kill. But man, Kepster's also getting those trades. So Boston just barely holding on to this point, falling back now to their healers. Smurf will have presence just to anchor.
Birdring has 6 HP. He needs a health pack and a cuddle right now, but Smurf, like you said, anchoring down here, and Dante's been heavily denied from actually getting onto any targets. This might be a touch of space for him to work with, though, as Birdring channels the Deadeye.
Just trying to zone them off, but that's Nano Dante speeding on in. I love that they have Funny Astro too for that high-tempo aggression play style. Even Dante in an interview said that this is something he's had to adjust to since his days on the Houston Outlaws. And it feels like a big key to their success to overwhelm teams. And even staggering out Boston late here is big, but Gladiators have quite a gap in the score to close.
Oh, that was such a long punch. Mr. Fantastic would be eyeing that enviously. And now Dante has access to the Annihilation. I wouldn't be surprised to see Smurf try and use her Primal Rage potentially to try and control that at the moment. Annihilation's still early in its tactical depth where we haven't seen too many specific strats to try and deal with it. Actually, Krandov had one over on the previous Nepal to get Dante off the map, but no Enviros here.
Like this Deadeye, this just zones off Boston, who are just playing on the other side of the map anyway. Gladiators don't need to really force their hand. It's Boston that have to pressure this point. Now Smurf jumps on top of Kai, forces out the barrier for Funny Astro, who speeds the team back out of this dive. Boston cannot stop. They went with their own sound barrier too, but Smurf primals some people off the map, goes after more. And after all the trades are said and done, we have a 3-on-1 for the point, and Boston will recap it.
Okay, so let's talk about right now something that's going to be highly infusing for every Boston Smurf fan out there. The Smurf heads are super happy, but Smurf, Ligegon, and Decay seem to have already entered the hive mind state. Their three-man dives are looking sublime, but Dante